Happy Friday, everyone. Josh of Severe Weather. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk exclusively about Hurricane Beryl, which made landfall earlier this morning on the Yucatan Peninsula, just north of Tulum, just southwest of the island of Cozumel, and the growing threat for the Texas coast here later on this weekend and the beginning of next week, in what have been some shifts in our forecast, as well as some increase in the potential intensity of our system as well. So thank you for joining me today. Let me share my screen with you guys and show you what we're taking a look at. And again, just one model, but showing a shift to the right and more potential intensification as this system returns to warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico over the weekend. It's going to take a little bit of time to readjust and gain some strength back after it spends a good chunk of today over the Yucatan, but after some weakening through tonight, early tomorrow, it should start to regenerate and build in size and strength as we get later into this weekend over the warm waters of the northwestern Gulf. And if you are in Texas, tough to say exactly where this is going to hit, but anywhere from the Mexican border up to maybe Galveston Bay should be starting preparations for impacts from this storm system. Here's a look at the official track from the National Hurricane Center. This is from Zoom Earth. And you can see wind speeds are now down to 85 miles per hour, but the system has a pretty well-defined core and wind shear has weakened today. So it's in a spot where once it gets back over water, it is going to be able to re-intensify. We do have hurricane warnings in effect here for the eastern coast of the Yucatan, including Cozumel. These will probably be lowered here this evening. We do have a hurricane watch and tropical storm warning just north of Cancun, and a tropical storm warning for the entire north coast of the Yucatan, as well as the Campeche coast all the way down to Campeche. Looks like our storm system will reemerge into the Gulf this evening, just to the north of Merida, probably around Progreso. And then we're going to see a bend to the right and a slowing down in motion as we get to the weekend. That's going to give it a chance to spend time over the warmer waters of the Western Gulf. And the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center now turns the storm to the right of South Padre Island and brings the storm system ashore here on Monday morning as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of 85 miles per hour just to the south of Corpus Christi, and then weakening as the system bends to the right of San Antonio into a tropical storm early in the day on Tuesday and into a remnant low on Wednesday near College Station and heading maybe towards Tyler. But take a look at this potential for the storm system to track anywhere to the far right to Cameron Parish in Louisiana, and on the south side, halfway between Tampico and Matamoros here on northeastern Mexico. Any of these locations are continuing to be in the path of the storm, and as it regains intensity, it could grow, especially on the northern side of the storm. So do I think it's going to hit Louisiana? I don't think so, but the average uncertainty does certainly take it there. I would say probably the farthest up the coast it might be would be perhaps Galveston and the Bolivar Peninsula, but more than likely it's going to be somewhere in the coastal bend to the southwest of Houston and to the north and east of Baffin Bay. Here's a look at our satellite image right now, and you can see Beryl continues to have a very healthy structure as it moves across the Yucatan. It will continue to weaken as it loses its moisture source and its warm water source through the night tonight. But then as it heads into the Gulf of Mexico, pretty much clear sailing for it to try to re-strengthen. Behind it, we don't have any immediate threats. We were watching an invest, which is pretty much falling apart here south of Jamaica. That moisture is going to follow, so cleanup efforts here on the Yucatan, as well as across Jamaica and the Caymans, could be impacted by some heavier showers and locally gusty winds. And we're also seeing very heavy rain as this trough drops down and affects the eastern side of Puerto Rico, as well as the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, and even the northern Lesser Antilles. And that will continue through the day today. But the good news is that after Beryl moves away, we should see a quieter period in the tropics for probably at least a couple of weeks. The second half of July could start to gradually turn more active again. Here's a look at the visible satellite. You can see the center of Hurricane Beryl is now almost halfway from the Caribbean coast to the Gulf Coast. The storm tracked just south of Campeche and now is heading kind of in this general direction. So almost halfway across. Winds here were 110 miles per hour when it made landfall early in the morning today. They should be down just below hurricane intensity to about 65 or 70 miles per hour as we head to the evening. But you can see here the wind shear that was hampering the system has pretty much gone away. In fact, right now, just very light flow kind of out of the northeast. It is definitely weakened, and the storm system is actually beginning to put up a fight even over land here across the western Yucatan. It's not going to strengthen or anything like that, but this may slow down the rate of weakening, and that's what we don't want to see, because the more organized the system is when it gets back over water, the more potential it's going to have to intensify. The upper level pattern shows an upper low right here over the Western Gulf, backing away to the west, high pressure aloft over the southeastern U.S. I don't know what happened there, but you can see the system is getting a healthy outflow here for most of it, with the exception of the southwestern portion here, kind of getting a little bit choked off here by the upper level southwesterlies coming around this upper low. Sorry about my internet here. I'm still on vacation for another day. I'm heading back later tomorrow and should be back in my office on Sunday as the storm is approaching the coast. Here's a closer look at the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see again, while Beryl is weakening, the outflow is improving, the organization of the storm is improving, the structure is improving, and if this were over water, it would actually be intensifying, but fortunately it is not. Here's a look at the radar from this morning. This is from Brian McNulty of the University of Miami, and you can see the landfall, and I can't slow this down, but was just south and west of Cozumel, and now the core of the storm has moved all the way to the west of, I believe, 88 west, and should reemerge into the Gulf at about 91 west here during the evening hours tonight. Sorry about that. I got that out of order. Here again is the National Hurricane Center map. Sorry, I'm outside sweating here. I've been out fishing this morning on Lake Norris, for those of you that are from Tennessee. Beautiful area. But you can see here, the trend over the last few days has been for this forecast to slow down and adjust and shift rightward. And that was a concern I've had throughout the life of the system, that the stronger it ended up being, the more likely it was going to have some more latitude gain. But the other concern is that it's slowing down, giving it some more time over water here. Basically, between Sunday morning and Monday morning, we've got a 24-hour period where this system could intensify at a pretty good rate. I don't know if I want to call it rapid intensification, but the storm has certainly done that already here a couple of times. And as it has this healthy structure, it could continue to do so. And that is a concern of mine. We're probably not talking about another category 5, unlikely to be category 4, more than likely a 2 or a 3. Even though the official forecast right now has it as a category 1, I think there's going to be a chance for that to climb as we get into the weekend here. Not a very big storm. You can see the area in red is where our hurricane force winds have been. And really the only areas of land that have gotten them are the northern side of Grenada and the Grenadines Islands here. That was when the storm came ashore as a strong category 4. As the storm weakened below category 4, it did bring hurricane force winds to the southwestern portion of Jamaica. And then really just a small area here, including the southwestern half of Cozumel and inland areas just north of Tulum, have had hurricane force winds. It's quite possible that the system isn't even producing really sustained winds of hurricane force anymore since it's been over land. But we'll have to find out as the system reemerges here how that's going to work. But we are going to see winds that will die down tonight in the Yucatan. We'll start to see them picking up at the coast of northeastern Mexico early in the day on Sunday, and then across deep South Texas Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. And then farther up the coast, later Sunday night, early Monday morning is when our strongest winds will start to move on shore. And the slower the storm is, the longer that period of wind is going to be, perhaps more than 12 hours, maybe even up to 24 hours. All of our models, for the most part, with the exception of the Canadian, which is too weak in my opinion, are now bringing the system into Texas. There's still, though, quite a bit of spread here at about 48 to even 72 hours. And you can see anywhere from basically the U.S. and Mexican border here on South Padre Island, all the way up to past Corpus Christi and Baffin Bay, all the way up to maybe even Aransas Pass, Port Lavaca. And there have been some ensembles that are even inching closer to the Houston area, although nothing explicitly showing that right now. So I would say if you follow the trends right now, it's more than likely that the stronger the system can get, it's going to turn farther off to the right, make more of a bend up to the middle coast of Texas. Very close to where Hurricane Harvey hit, by the way, in 2017. And that system developed very quickly after it left the Yucatan and became a Category 4 hurricane. This one has a slight chance of even doing that. The GFS model is taking it near Corpus Christi, although the mean of the ensembles is a little bit more to the right. There are ensemble tracks just to the south and west of Houston. There are many ensemble tracks still down towards Brownsville. So we have a coastline that's 360 miles long from the U.S. border with Mexico to the Louisiana-Texas border. And most of the clustering is within about a 150-mile area of that. But because of the shape of the coast, north to south, there's still a very large spread in where this is eventually going to come on shore. Eventually, its moisture is going to get carried north and east. We're going to have to take a look at the weather next week across the central United States into the Ohio Valley. Remnant storms could bring heavy rain. They can also bring some severe weather, and that's what I'll be watching for you guys here in the future. So I'll show you the intensity forecast, and if there's one thing I think we've all recognized is that the intensity forecast has not done as nearly as great a job as the path forecast. Basically, every model has been underdone on the intensity of the storm system, and I think that continues to be the case. We will have weakening to where it's just below hurricane strength here this evening, but you can see the strengthening trend will probably begin sometime tomorrow, maybe in the morning, but probably more likely in the afternoon or evening, and still some potential to see this getting back to Category 2. And I would not be shocked at all if this became another major hurricane as it comes on shore into Texas. It's probably going to be strengthening right up until landfall. Nothing's going to stop it at this point until it gets to land, and that should be sometime early in the day on Monday. It would be Sunday night if it's farther down the coast, or later in the morning on Monday if it's farther up. So what's driving this system is we've got this big trough that is breaking down our area of high pressure. It's coming down in multiple pieces here. What this is going to do is create a weakness in this powerful high pressure ridge that normally extended across the entire country, with California just roasting right now and the southeast roasting. But we've got enough of a weakness here where it's going to get pulled northward. Now, the trough is a little bit stronger than what it was showing a couple of days ago, and because the storm is a little bit stronger, it's got more of an idea of where it's going to go than it did a few days ago. The weaker solutions had it kind of missing that connection. Now that it's stronger than what was expected, it's got a better chance of getting lifted northward by this trough. The timing of it still is a little bit uncertain, but we do see the idea that eventually the storm is going to try to move inland and turn northeast and get picked up by the trough. And you've got to keep an eye on this area here in the warm sector around the periphery of our ridge. Tennessee Valley, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, all have to kind of keep an eye on this thing for heavy rainfall Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe a little bit of severe weather as well. But it's lifting out. It's going to be gone, long gone by next weekend. We're just going to heat right back up after that, and things will not be favorable enough for tropical development for a while after that. This is a look at current wind shear, and green indicates areas where wind shear is fairly low. The storm is now kind of in a spot where it's missing the stronger wind shear off to its north. You can see that wind shear here. It is missing it, and it's actually heading into a location in the southwestern Gulf where the wind shear should be a lot lower and more relaxed, and that's going to give it the opportunity to strengthen here again after it kind of licks its wounds after leaving land. You can see the tendency here is for that lower wind shear in the southwest Gulf. And what will happen is the stronger wind shear that's with the upper level low right now in the western Gulf is going to back away to the west with that upper low. And that's going to allow this lower wind shear in here to kind of follow the storm as it comes up towards Texas here over the weekend and into the first part of next week, which is not what we want to see. And here you can see that wind shear forecast does drop off here as the system emerges and moves into the western Gulf. We're down below 10 knots and maybe even as low as 0 knots of wind shear according to the ship's model. The moist atmosphere it's in now does come down a slight bit, but the heat content comes up. So does the sea surface temperature, going up to 88 degrees here in the northwestern Gulf near Texas. As a result, we're going to see a pretty favorable environment for strengthening. The big question mark is, of course, how quickly that strengthening occurs. And with this system in an area of low wind shear, even though it's over land now, I've said it about 5 times during this video, it's not going to take a lot to get it to re-intensify. It just may take a little bit of time for that to happen. Here's the GFS global model showing that the storm is going to be slowing down over the weekend here as it moves towards the Texas coastline. It'll be strengthening and deepening. There will be some dry air on the southern side of it, but enough moisture in place for this system to continue to send a pretty good feed of moisture up into the western Gulf, including most of the eastern half of Texas. And it's going to get fed some more moisture from Central America and from the Western Caribbean as well. But after that happens, it's going to dry out pretty significantly here, and you'll see most of this moisture gets sent up into kind of the mid-eastern United States here by the time we get to next Wednesday. Let's look at some tropical models. I'm outside sweating here. Sorry, guys. And you can see the pressure comes down here, but take a look at the structure. Pretty healthy system this time tomorrow in the west central Gulf of Mexico. Now we're seeing a bend more to the right, according to the HWRF, which in my opinion has done better than the HAFS and the HMON tropical models, just based on what I'm seeing here. And it's just got it slowing down so much that it gets to a point where it's in a favorable spot to strengthen here Sunday night and early Monday morning. So if you go to bed Sunday night, you may wake up to something quite a bit stronger Monday morning if the system slows down enough. If it accelerates, good news is that it'll weaken faster and it won't strengthen as much, but it will bring a little bit more of a punch. A slower system, though, can bring more rain and can bring more of a period of intensification. Even though we saw a fast-moving Beryl early last week strengthen from a depression to a Category 5 in 2.5 days, moving at 22 miles per hour. But the speed of this system by the time we get to Monday morning may be closer to 10 to 15 miles per hour. So about half of the forward speed as what we saw a few days ago in the Eastern Caribbean. Here you can see a closer view of our system. Gathering strength here, should be back to hurricane intensity on the HWRF by late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Now it's making that turn to the right and pressures are falling. And you can see by the time this system gets close to, say, Port Lavaca, a 962 millibar hurricane that may have wind speeds over 100 miles per hour. And I mean, if it comes in any slower and farther up the coast, it could certainly be even stronger. So that's a concern of mine. Here's a look as well at the upper level setup here. And you can see it's going to struggle to intensify until we get to Saturday. Then we start to see a better core and kind of a better structure here with lowering wind shear. By the time we get to Saturday night and Sunday, we could see a pretty steady rate of intensification with landfall expected Monday morning. This is showing between 7 and 9 a.m. in the morning on Monday with a pretty healthy core, pretty healthy storm system here, and then weakening as the system moves up towards College Station and maybe towards Tyler, Texas by the time we get to Tuesday and Tuesday afternoon. Eventually, it's going to head up towards Arkansas if this model is correct. The HAFS model I'll show you guys here does not re-intensify the system much until we get to Sunday. It's just slower to pick up on what I think is happening, in my opinion. It is still going to be slowing down and moving up to the Texas coast, but this is showing a system that's not quite as strong, but still intensifying. It's also showing a system that's coming into deep South Texas and it's pretty much just sitting there and spinning itself out, wringing moisture out across South Texas. Quite a different look than what the HWRF is showing. And again, I think the HWRF is going to do better here, but we'll have to see. They could all be wrong, in my opinion. I've seen that happen quite a bit too. But take a look at this. The HAFS looks like it's going to take it right into Mexico, and then at the very last minute, slows down, makes a little bit of a hard right, and intensifies the system with a pressure down to 963 or 964 millibars on Padre Island, somewhere between Brownsville and Port Isabel, it looks like here. This would be a Category 3 hurricane if it's correct. 100 knots is 115 miles per hour. And then the system slowly weakens until it's farther inland west of Corpus Christi. And then it's a remnant tropical storm Monday night and Tuesday morning. And then you can see it actually gets suppressed to the south here, which is definitely not the solution the other models are offering us. The HMON model, kind of more in line with the HAFS. It does show very slow strengthening, shows it slowing down, but it doesn't show it nearly as intense. Here it is coming in close to, I believe this is Port Lavaca here, up the coast from Corpus Christi, and the pressure down to about 982 millibars. It would be a borderline hurricane at that point, maybe even a strong tropical storm. I just don't see that being correct, to be honest with you guys. Finally, we'll take a look at the ICON model. This is a global model. It is the farthest to the right of the models, showing steady intensification here on Sunday. Pressure down to 972 millibars, but making a bend farther to the right and coming into the Galveston Bay area here late Sunday night, early Monday morning as a 965 millibar hurricane. So all of them are showing pressures into the 960s and 970s. So it's going to strengthen again. But the question mark is, does it hug the coast here of South Texas? Does it come into the middle Texas coast? Or does it do what this outlier is showing and try to come closer to Houston? And that's what I'm going to be watching for you guys here in the coming days. Here's a wind swath here for you guys to see wind gusts. And you can see, according to the European, middle Texas coast, even Corpus Christi, possibility of wind gusts that are getting to hurricane force here. And you can see a closer view of that. Most of these winds coming early in the day Monday for South Texas, maybe Monday afternoon across the coastal bend here from Corpus on up to, say, Brazoria or so here Monday. with these wind speeds approaching hurricane intensity. And this is the European model. Rainfall totals as well are going to be significant here. We're looking at 4 to maybe 8 inches of rain. This is a blend of all the models. There will be some spots that could pick up a little bit more, but certainly a lot of rain coming for Texas, anywhere along the coastal plain, but maybe East Texas as well. And believe it or not, we could see some of this moisture finding its way all the way up into the Ohio River Valley. If you take a look here, you can see, we move this along here a little bit more. Rainfall totals starting to come up here. Arkansas, Tennessee, maybe even into the Carolinas. But again, this is a blend of all the models. Some of the models keep it trapped in Texas and kill it. Some of the models bring it northeast. Again, a little bit too far out to make too much of a projection on that. So very interesting times ahead. Tomorrow's video, we're going to take a look at maybe a better spot for where we think it's going to hit. I'm also going to spend a little bit more time taking a look at the potential for tornadoes and severe weather as the system makes its final approach and then moves inland and perhaps affects multiple states as it's coming northward. As always, I appreciate y'all's time. I appreciate you spending time with me today. If you did enjoy this video, please consider becoming a subscriber, sharing with your friends as well. If you're in Texas, I'm going to try to give you guys some updates in between the daily videos. I will be traveling tomorrow, so I'm probably going to do a shorter video earlier in the morning and then back to normal time on Sunday morning before church. But as always, I thank you for your time. I give all the honor and glory to God who has allowed me to do this and blessed me with another day. I pray that God continues to bless you in many ways as well, whether or not you see that. Just know that I am praying for you. I'm praying for everybody in the path of this storm. And as always, I'm here to help just provide encouragement to you, and no matter what storms you're going through in your life, whether it be natural disasters, whether it be health, financial, relationship, or anything else, I'm here to pray for you. And if you have a prayer request, please list it and I'll go ahead and pray for you. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Hope you have a blessed day. Take care.